So good morning.
Good
My
morning,
name is Alan Reed. I'm the Executive Director of the Chicagoland Food and Beverage Network, and I welcome you all to Rebuilding Your Network, our networking event. I hope you have all grabbed a delicious cup of coffee or whatever you prefer to consume. I'm going to take a sip throughout. I encourage you to do the same. Hopefully you are comfortable and safe and all good things. Thanks for getting up early with us. We have an incredible program today, starting with Sally Day, who I will introduce formally in just a moment, and then some really incredible networking, because we know from talking with you all that is the thing you have missed most during these crazy days of the global pandemic. So we are working hard to deliver that for you. This is I think we're at 56th virtual event for the year. It has been incredible to bring this amazing community together on an ongoing basis to really just stay connected and stay up with these incredibly, I'll say, strange days, difficult times, but also times of opportunity. So terrific things there. Thank you for sticking with us. Next slide, Andrea. Okay, for those of you who don't know Chicagoland Food and Beverage Network, as well, we are a mission-driven industry organization. We are 3.5 years old, and boast 125 corporate members. Our job is to bring together the incredible food and beverage industry of the greater Chicagoland area. That is 4,500 food and beverage companies and over 130,000 people all working in this amazing, amazing industry. Our goals are simple: grow the industry, grow the local economy, and create jobs. Those are important every day, but they're especially important in the midst of, and I'll say in the aftermath of, the global pandemic we're all living through. So we continue to work because we know how important it is that our industry continues to work. We also have a charitable nonprofit called Bigger Table, and Bigger Table brings together that same incredible industry to give back to the amazing Chicagoland community. We are right now working on delivering somewhere between 250 and 300,000 servings of healthy, warm, hot cocoa that will be delivered to food banks. These are protein and fiber enhanced, no sugar added, absolutely delicious, and works a little bit like a meal replacement. So important as our food banks are really overwhelmed with the incredible demand and the challenges that this pandemic is bringing them. We're proud to be a part of it. And with that, here we go. We love to get social. Please reach out to us on social media, connect with us, continue that conversation that we start here. We love to bring that into social media as well and interact with you on an ongoing basis. We love it, especially in LinkedIn and Twitter, but also Facebook, Instagram, and again, you can always find the latest events at our #CFBN events. With that, we have just an incredible, incredible guest this morning in Sally Day. Good morning, Sally.
Good morning, Alan.
So glad you're here with us. Sally Day is a managing director at Kincannon and Reed, and just, I'll say, a top-notch executive coach. I'll read some of this, and then her background is so amazing. I can't even read all of it because it's terrific. She's a certified executive coach and search professional. She brings more than 25 years of industry experience as a senior leader working for consumer food companies, including J.M. Smucker, Unilever, Keebler, and Nestle. Her tenure has been in organizational strategy, development, and leadership, which provides an unmatched experience when coaching executives or working with clients to identify and assess future talent. She has an MBA from Kent State University. She's a professional certified coach from the Gestalt Institute of Cleveland, has a certificate in executive coaching from Case Western Reserve University, and has an incredibly impressive number of certifications and credentials. I can't even read them all.
It's crazy. I
you
know.
went to school for a long time, I can tell.
It's a coach thing. It's a coach.
Over the years, Sally's client base has included C-suite executives and high potential leaders. So pleased to have you with us and get this time and ability to pick your brain a little bit on executive coaching and why it's so important. So let's start with what is coaching and why are people sometimes confused about what it is?
Yeah. So before I start on that, first let me take this opportunity to thank you, Alan, and the whole entire group at Chicagoland Food and Beverage Network. I'm speaking on behalf of Kincannon Read, and we're just really happy to be here and very appreciative of you and the work behind the scenes that your team has done. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
But let's talk about executive coaching. So what I would like to do maybe is throw you out the pure definition of what coaching is, and then we can kind of tease it out a little bit with a little is not, because I think when you're going to listen to this definition, it's going to be so broad, you're going to be scratching your head and it'll even create more confusion. So the definition I'm reading is really from the International Coaching Federation, which is the gold standard. Those are the people that certify all coaches. And they define coaching as partnering with a client in a thought-provoking and creative way in order to maximize potential in the client. Pretty broad. So the way that I think about it is almost to compare and contrast it with some other, what I might call helping roles that you could relate to. For example, mentoring. We've probably all throughout our career had a mentor-mentee relationship with someone, either on the receiving or giving end of that. And that's really about sharing experience and wisdom, and actually even providing a little guidance. Another one around consulting would be, again, providing guidance from an expert's point of view. They're usually there for implementation. But the way that I think about coaching is it's really a powerful conversation, which involves deep listening. Alan, most people aren't really deeply listened to today.
It's true.
There's a lot of distractions, right? You find yourself in this scenario where someone's talking to you and you're doing something else and you're on your phone, but that's not really the coaching conversation. It's really dedicated where the coach is listening, clarifying questions, and really effectively summarizing what's going on in that conversation. Really good coaches are supportive, but they're also challenging. And so they're listening for what you say and what you don't say. So in this case, the client is the expert. They bring a topic. Did that clear it up?
Yeah. I really like the point on listening. It's hard, right? There's so much going on. It's hard just to be, I'll say, to find a good listener and be listened to. That's incredibly important. So I love that you brought that up.
Yeah.
In your experience, what are the most common reasons that executives use a coach? Why do they seek one?
You know, there isn't one specific common reason, but what I can do is kind of check off a couple of things, and let's see if some of these resonate with you, and hopefully they will resonate even with our audience. Common reason people use an executive coach is to work on their leadership competencies. So, you know, those behaviors that are the big differentiators. So, you know, leaders might have, say, a flat spot on one of them. Or they might even want to, they might be really good at something like strategic thinking or communicating. They might want to accentuate that even more. A big reason people come to coaching is what this whole area, what I would call around conflict management and resolution, difficult decisions, difficult conversations, and it's sometimes that conflict is even within the person, right? I'm struggling because I, as a leader, I'm holding confidential information that's going to impact my team. You know, change is happening constantly. We can't avoid that. And so that's a really big piece. Like this whole idea around conflict is really big why executives show up. or just really to talk through organizational dynamics. You know what it's like when you start in a role and you're trying to figure it out, or a new guy came in and you're trying to establish that relationship. So those are some really big reasons why people do. And I would say there's one really big one around what I call ideal self. I don't know if you've ever heard of that language before, Alan, but ideal self is what I say is like, what do you want to do when you grow up? It's, how do I connect my work to my why and bring my whole self, all of my strengths? And so whether you're mid-career or later in your career and you're like, time out, I'm feeling less fulfilled, or my work is done here, what do I want to do next? So there's lots of different reasons that people show up for coaching. Did one of those sort of, or were you curious, or did one resonate with you?
So I really like the idea of sort of planning out your, like, what I'll say, not only just bringing your whole self to work, but how do I make sure that who I am aligns with the leader that I'd like to be? So I love, and that's hard to do, right? It's funny. Sometimes I feel like I have an out of body experience where I'm like, I know who I am and I know what the company needs, but how do I navigate those in a way that's both true to me and benefits the company?
Right. And so often those types of conversations or thoughts that you have are really prime. That's like a little gold conversation right there with a coach. So that's a great example of how people would come and want to talk about that particular topic. And it's especially, I would point out, especially vulnerable, I would say, in those times of transition. So think about a new role or a stretch role, or maybe you've been staying in your role too long, right? And you kind of are not sure, maybe coasting, not sure where you want to go next, but everything's going well, so you don't feel like you need to change. But, really that transition can be that out-of-body experience you were talking about, where I think I want to show up a certain way and how I'm connecting. Yeah.
That's great. It gets even more complicated in, I'll say, times of stress as we're living through now, where, it used to be you could say, oh, this company is going to have this transition at this time. Most of the people I'm in contact with now are saying, wow, I thought we transitioned in April and then we did again in June, and now we're doing it. We did it again in August, and now we're doing it again now. It's just so, again, especially during these challenging times, I'll say, having a coach, having a voice to sort of check back with, even be accountable with, I think is so valuable and so important.
Yeah, I mean, just take 2020 aside, just the regular pace of change that's happening. Think about technology, right? There's innovation. There's so many things that are coming at us so quickly. And in search work, we would say life is messy. There's complexities. People have kids, they have senior parents, relocate, all kinds of things are coming into play here. So it's not just our current environment and our current pandemic, but really the pace of change that just keeps coming faster at us. That's what it feels like. It just...
Couldn't agree more. The pace of change was fast in 2019, and it's certainly not slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah.
So we've talked on a couple of them, but want to dig in a little bit on, when does coaching really work? When does it really have a powerful effect in your experience?
Yeah, I would say any of those reasons that I kind of ticked off, I think can be really powerful. But what's really important is that I think people understand the value that coaching can bring. So you get this personal and professional development, but also for the company, they are the huge benefactor of investing in their leaders. There's some research out there that would indicate that that the company and the employee, the leader, the executive, would receive a 5 to 7 times return on that investment. Wow. But what's really important, Alan, is that people who show up for coaching really want to be there. they're ready for it. So that looks like they're willing to engage, they're willing to look inward or reflect, right? They challenge their own thinking. They want to be a better leader. They're not like told to go work with a coach like you're told to go to the principal. That won't work. It just doesn't work. Like, and that's true of so much, right? For parenting and just managing employees. It's just that you can't just tell people. Coaching is a really unique skill set that is that sort of gets to building out awareness, but that executive has to show up and say, I want to take my game to the next level. I think they would say 2/3 of CEOs don't receive any outside feedback on their leadership capabilities. Wow. But they would be very open to it if it were presented to them. Yeah.
Got it. So when somebody does self-identify and say, I'm ready for coaching, I'm ready to do this, how do you get started? What does that process look like?
Well, you can call KR and we'd be there in a jiffy. Yeah. But seriously, no, what I would encourage people to do is to do a little research here. Just like you would do any other investment, you really take the time to do some research. And I would say, the coaching has a lot of different folks out there. I don't know if you even are aware, like there are people who specialize in spiritual coaching or health and wellness coaching. I happen to be executive coaching and what I would even call career coaching. I could probably play in that space there. But make sure your coach is certified so they know what coaching is and isn't. So remember that. Not directive, like a coach doesn't want to direct you and tell you what to do. You want to make sure that your coach is certified because they understand that fine line between, being with someone and not directing, but they also understand the professional ethics and confidentiality that go with it. It's very, very important. I would also say pay attention to chemistry. So when you're talking to a coach, you should be evaluating, can I work with this person? Do they have my sense of humor? There are different types of coaches. Some are more academic, some are more C-suite. So really make sure that kind of click is there, and you'll know because you'll feel it. And then be prepared to bring the topic, right? The coach doesn't bring the topic. Really, the client, the coachee brings it. They're the ones who say, I have something to work on. This has been something I've been ruminating on or I've been thinking about, and I'm not sure what to do with it.
Well, it feels like that topic may help you select the right coach, right? It's if you're, if it's personnel issues, or I'll say personal issues or ethical issues, you're going to want to find a coach that has that kind of experience and is comfortable exploring that space. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely coaches follow a set of skills and competencies that we're tested on, and that's how we become certified. But I think it's all the extra stuff that the coach brings. In our case at Kincannon and Reed, we are building out our bench of coaches that have the business experience across the food value chain. And so that's important because if you're a CEO, you want to know that your coach has a clue on what you're going through and what it could look like, what that lived experience is about. So I think our coaching is, I wouldn't necessarily say that you have to have a high degree of specialization in certain functions, but certainly I think having that background to understand that you've walked in those shoes is really, really valuable.
Got it. Terrific advice. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So you've been working in the food industry for 30 years.
Don't say it. 30 years.
Again, you started when you were 4, clearly.
Yeah. You're my favorite interviewer, Alan. You're my favorite interviewer.
Whoops, did we lose you, Sally?
No, I'm here.
Whoops, okay. You went blank on my screen for a second, but I'm glad you're here. So what brought you to coaching? How did that happen?
I know, right? Like sometimes I wonder how did it happen, but I started my career in procurement, right? So here I am working through all the procurement jobs in the very large CPG food companies. And so I really loved procurement, and I loved the analytical and the people side of it, that negotiation side. And I noticed that the best people had a high degree of emotional intelligence. The best negotiators did. So I realized as I was working through my procurement career that I would find employees come and sit with me or want to have lunch or have coffee. And I did a lot of mentoring at that time. And it even got to the point where I even had some executives show up in my office. And it was like, I realized that I was operating without a license. And I thought, I should go and I have to explore this because this is clearly a strength of mine and I don't even know why I'm attracting people. So fast forward, post my corporate career, I actually got all of those crazy certifications that you read off at the beginning and really did the work. And I realized that to some extent, I think it was sort of a God-given talent of mine for all of those employees to want to be attracted and talk to me throughout my career. And so at this point, I'm just having a blast because it's really an honor to work with people on some of the things that may be stopping them from reaching their full potential. And, you know, you'll hear coaches all the time say, yes, there's the money, but there's really the fulfillment you have when you see someone really striving and getting where they want to be. It's like, you know, it's like a little bit like a parent. You're like, yay, you know, small part I've had in that, but it's just such a great honor to do the coaching work.
I love it. And again, especially, again, someone with such great experience, applying it back to industry and doing it so passionately. I am
very passionate about this. This is I feel like it's a culmination of all my, you know, my work. Kincannon and Reed is a passion of my food and coaching and my ideas around the importance that people have when they own their own career. So they really have to think through how they manage that career. And I'm so passionate about it. Yeah.
It comes through, which is fantastic. So we're going to transition in a moment to some networking. So from your perspective, why is it important to maintain and build your network?
Yeah. So I think it goes back to what I was just talking about a little bit about maybe a call to action I would share with you and the audience is really around owning your own career. And the way I think about that is through three different lenses. It's first knowing what you're passionate about and what your strengths are. Really and I think some of us reflect and aren't really sure. We're kind of marching along in our career and letting it just sort of unfold, if you will, but really tuning into what we're passionate about is important. The second thing I would say is be committed to prepare yourself. It could be everything from making sure that resume is up to date, working with a coach, taking classes. Really, it's that learning mindset to always be reaching. And then that third, which is where I'm going to start to bring in the networking, is communicating what you're passionate about and communicating what you've done and the achievements and what you can offer. And I say networking. You know, you're going to have, the audience will have some really unique opportunities of networking at this event with some of the Kincannon and Reed colleagues around a variety of topics. And I think you get to pick and choose which ones you go to, but really putting it out there, communicating what you're passionate about. Because, you know, as I said, change happens a lot. Life is messy. So owning your own career, you own this piece of it for yourself. And there's so much good stuff to do out there.
Terrific. And, you know, again, it keeps coming back to me. So important to not, there was a time you could sort of hop on I used to call it the invisible conveyor belt of your career. And you could kind of just sort of, I don't want to say sleepwalk through it, but you didn't have to think too hard about it. You just sort of got to where you got to. And I don't think that exists anymore. So you truly have to know yourself. And you may not know yourself until you've talked to others who are experimenting with what you're doing. And you start to get that clear in your head with a coach or a mentor. So again, I think networking is just important for knowing where you are in the world and starting to set a course for where you want to go. And again, I couldn't agree more that coaching is an incredible way to sort of light the fire underneath all of that.
I would almost suppose, if I may, that networking is taking on somewhat of a different lens these days, right? So that, go to a conference, walk into the big ballroom with a drink and you're feeling awkward. That doesn't exist in our current environment. It's really about this. It's really about making the connections on Zoom. And I often tell folks, this is just connecting over coffee. I have my coffee, you have your coffee. It's just a conversation, right? It doesn't have to be a scary ballroom. So I say go for it.
No, and I would say, and in fact, while we often say, everyone misses the cocktail and the appetizer, because it does make it makes you feel a little less vulnerable than sometimes being put into a Zoom room.
Yeah.
And yet, I think that sort of vulnerability, that's exactly what we need to sort of lean into. It's that, I'll say, that kind of confidence and that kind of, I'll say, knowing how to ask, knowing how to tell your story becomes so very, very important. And we'll go through in just a moment some of the unique dynamics of this hop-in feature that'll allow you to sort of move to where you want to, which takes away some of the challenges of traditional Zoom. We do have, and I encourage more questions as well. We do have a question or two, so I'd like to take those. First, Saquon, good morning. So glad you're here. Let's see, and what are your thoughts, Sally, around the Coaching Federation and the importance of achieving, let's see, ACC, PCC, MCC levels? I don't even know what those mean. You can take a second and sort of de-jargonize some of that for us, and then talk about how important are those certifications?
Yeah. So these are various levels of certifications from the International Coaching Federation, which I mentioned is the gold standard when it comes to certifying coaches. And really the big indicator, this is really just hours of coaching. So as coaches log additional hours, they move from associate to professional to master coach. Master is almost like a lifetime, like a career's worth of coaching. So we're all on, all coaches are on that continuum, on that journey. And so I think it's important because really what it does is it reflects the hours of coaching and the experience that the coach has had.
Terrific. Are there any other questions? Feel free to put those into the chat here in the stage. And so you've convinced me that I need to have a certified coach, that I need to have somebody as energetic and passionate as you are. And I'll even say, and maybe some connection around sort of network, because I do think that kind of the context and the cohort you're working through, I think does help you to set the direction for your career and sort of what you're looking for. So
yeah. No, so what I was just going to add is I have a client who actually has come to Kincannon Read for coaching because one of the things they think they could benefit from, they are in a stretch role and they probably need a mentor outside of their organization, right? Someone who can be a confidential, been there, done that, sort of been in that role and can add something. And so at Kincannon Read, what we can offer, for at least the way I'm thinking about it, is this broad network of our partners and our principals that we can do those types of alignments where someone is coming for coaching and they may end up with a connection through our connections.
Love it. Perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing just your incredible knowledge and incredible enthusiasm and energy this morning.